After watching episode 7 of The Rings of Power Season 2, I was sitting in front of my computer for quite some time and thinking, okay, what am I going to say in this first impressions video? That was a wild episode, I have to say. It has some really good parts, I think, and also some parts that I am not sure where they're going with this, and this we will discuss here in this first impressions video. My name is Chris, aka ThePhilosophersGames, and of course, spoiler warning for episode 7. When I started watching Season 2 of The Rings of Power, I decided to kind of ignore pretty much everything I know about the books. Because this show is just so vastly different in so many details that if you don't do this, this show can just become very annoying for you. In this episode, the battle or siege of Eregion started, and it was visually very impressive for a TV show for sure. There was a lot of work put into it. The orcs all looked differently, and the orcs in the show just looked really fantastic. I really liked that. There was a lot of horse action going on at the beginning and so on. It was very massive for like a TV show for sure. Though I often felt also a bit that direction-wise and also maybe writing-wise, people were teleported around quite a bit, especially later in the episode in other contexts, but also I felt like inside the battle itself, as a result, at times it became a bit confusing, or let's say it was a bit hard to get an understanding or image in your mind of the whole battle, so you understand where things are happening on the battlefield, at what point, and why, if you know what I mean. Also then later in the battle, Damrod appeared, and he was teased before in previous episodes, and visually very impressive work. I like how he lifted some orcs to protect himself from arrows or knocked this massive siege engine aside while walking past it. It was pretty cool in my opinion, though overall it felt a bit underwhelming because his appearance was relatively short from my perception, to be honest, and he had his own track on the score. Previously, Adar talked to him and he asked, "Where is Sauron?" As a result, it seemed like there is some background story going on for him, so I expected a little bit more out of this conflict. It was more like he entered the battlefield, fought a bit, and it was visually impressive and very cool, and then he died, and then the show just continued. I felt like the build-up for Damrod was much bigger than his impact at the end was, or in the end was, in this episode. Maybe that was, I guess, due to marketing hyping him up because he was like a big asset, and for sure a lot of hours went into making this appearance possible, such a big character and so on. I can definitely imagine that this is, from a technical and filming standpoint, quite difficult to achieve, but like I said, it felt like his role in the show would be simply bigger. What I also really liked was now the interaction between Celebrimbor and Annatar, as pretty much in every episode. I think this is definitely one of the highlights of the second season, and both actors carry these scenes so hard. And now Celebrimbor does things so that he finds out that he's trapped in an illusion, in a trap or a prison for his mind, as he calls it, and he has to escape. And also, yeah, that was pretty cool, in my opinion, worked very well. I think it was kind of plausible that there were patterns that repeated all the time, and it was a bit like Matrix, if that makes sense. When they change something in the code, then also little mistakes or déjà vus happen in the Matrix. And here it was like, okay, Sauron is busy elsewhere and has to do things, and then the illusion becomes imperfect at times, and Celebrimbor finds little hints that something is wrong here. I like that quite a bit, I have to say. That's, my opinion, one of the strongest parts of the season, the interaction between those two actors. That's always very fun to watch, I have to admit. I also really liked how Annatar even played the guards against Celebrimbor and so on. He was alone in the end, nobody believed him, people thought he was crazy and so on. That was well done in my opinion. So these are definitely the strong parts of this episode, I have to admit. Also, there was this Mithril thing. It was revealed that the Mithril was the blood of Sauron actually. I could have come up with this, but it felt kind of weird because blood is usually not something you need to make rings, if that makes sense. Like you would expect you need some kind of metal for it. You can't just mix anything into this and make rings out of it. That felt a bit implausible. I mean, it's a fantasy show and it's super powerful blood of like a spirit being, like a fallen angel. Yeah, I get this, but still it felt strange, especially that the illusion was so powerful that he could not differentiate a liquid from actually a hard material. I mean, yes, he's very good at making these illusions, it seems, but still, that felt a bit weird at the end. Then there are also some things I did not like that much. One point I definitely want to talk about is the teleporting, which I found very annoying throughout the whole season, but especially in this episode it was just amped up to 11. In a previous critique I said the writers have kind of like, I don't know, a button or whatever, and depending on what button they press, characters can enter or leave Eregion whenever and however they want, and no questions asked. And that feels very cheap often. This episode it was extreme. Like in this one scene where Galadriel suddenly entered the besieged Eregion, I thought to myself, so cringe who is not entering Eregion using the secret Dwarven tunnel. Like, are you kidding me? That is just so convenient and just comes out of nowhere. And if this would be the only instance of this, I would say, yeah, okay, whatever. You can come up with an explanation. The dwarves were allies of the elves, so maybe they made a tunnel or whatever. Yeah, for sure, it is possible, but I feel like sometimes you should show something and not just tell it. And this is the show's concept too often, and this diminishes the writing of the show, because whenever it is convenient, a character can appear somewhere. Also, Elrond, who was just talking to Gil-galad 2 episodes ago, I think, and then suddenly he is in Khazad-dûm talking to Durin, and they even say, yeah, this guy is completely banned from all Dwarven lands. He can't actually enter, but he's here in your room, no problem at all. Like, the show is sometimes so bad at this, and this I personally find a bit annoying, because this kind of pulls me out of my immersion, and I just notice Elrond is in Khazad-dûm because it is written in the script, not because it makes sense. And this is a problem. Also, you have to consider Khazad-dûm is right behind Ost-Inedil, so the capital of Eregion, the city that is besieged. It's kind of difficult to get past all of this unseen and go back. It's very risky, except he goes through the Gap of Rohan, or at this time Gap of Kalinardon, and goes through the back entrance to Khazad-dûm. That would also be a possibility, but it would take ages for him to do that, because it's a huge detour. Still, it is very convenient that he can just appear here and then reappear somewhere else. That just feels very implausible and cheap and not organic, and I think that is something the show definitely has to work on. Then we have to talk about the kiss between Elrond and Galadriel. Was this just a distraction so that Elrond could give in secret Galadriel the device she needs to escape? I hope so, but I could imagine this show might want to explore these relationships a bit more, which I personally find very strange. The reason for this is, of course, the books. The show, I assume, has to stick to what the books actually say story-wise. They can maybe alter some lore and move things around a bit, but it would be very strange if character relationships are completely different. Because we know from The Lord of the Rings that Elrond has 3 children, Arwen, Elrohir and Eladan, and his wife is actually Celebrimbor. Spoiler, Celebrimbor is the daughter of Galadriel and Celeborn, so Galadriel is the mother-in-law of Elrond. As a result, the grandmother of Arwen. So if my assumption is correct that the show has to stick to the story, so that Elrond and Celebrimbor are the parents of Arwen, if this the show also has to portray, then this relationship will not lead anywhere, because it contradicts what the story actually says. As a result, why is it there then if it can't lead anywhere? You know what I mean? It feels like they let it open and put out Celeborn just so that they can ship Galadriel with whoever they want. That feels very strange writing-wise, I have to admit. Though interestingly, in very early versions of The Lord of the Rings, Tolkien thought about that Elrond's wife might be Galadriel, but he changed it and then Galadriel became his mother-in-law instead. Then there are some other details I find a bit weird. For example, why did Elrond not leave Nenya behind in Lindon? He was there showing it to Gil-galad, and he could have given it to Círdan in the meantime or something. That would be safe. Especially when Gil-galad says basically that they are not sure if the troops are enough to defeat Sauron and Adar together. So there's a chance of failure for Elrond dying in battle. And then there's the potential for the enemy getting the ring. And Elrond is in the show a character that is always talking against these rings and say, no, we should not use them, we should destroy them, and so on. So he definitely also knows that the enemy should not get the ring in their hands, like the orcs or Sauron. And as such, it makes no sense that he takes the ring with him, because he's a smart character. And this feels very out of character, taking the ring with him. It just seems like he takes Nenya with him because it is written in the screenplay, and that's not great in my opinion. Then we have the Dwarven plotline in Khazad-dûm, and there Prince Durin holds this epic and awesome speech. I really liked that scene. It felt completely right, hitting all the right notes. And then the explanation why the dwarves can't go to war just feels very strange, and I don't know, it feels so constructed and artificial. Like, are the writers telling me that they are forming an army and they have problems dealing with one dwarf with a ring of power? What will happen if they face Sauron, a Maya, who is basically a fallen angel or basically like the devil himself? And also Adar with a massive orc army who also now has also a ring of power that is potentially more powerful than any of the 7. Like, how are they imagine this will work if they can't deal with one dwarf? I think that seems a bit unplausible in my opinion. Especially that suddenly there's a talk of a beast, I assume the Balrog, that will be released. So they know there's a Balrog, it can destroy the whole kingdom if they open this mine or something. It's just mind-boggling, to be honest. Maybe it's just me, but these explanations feel so constructed and, I don't know, implausible to me. And I don't know, just ignoring the book lore. Like, from the book lore perspective, it's even worse, because we know that a ring of power, like the 7 rings, would make the wearer, the dwarf, greedy, but not mad and absolutely insane that he would destroy everything he has built and created and so on. That is simply not what these rings would do. Also, this Balrog is a topic of the 3rd age, not of the 2nd, so just having a cameo of it, it's okay, but now making it a major plot device also feels very strange and wrong from the book's perspective. Now, coming to the conclusion of my first impressions so far, like I said, the episode was a bit wild, but I felt it was very focused on the plot. And I think this is what the show should do more often, focus on the plot, driving it forward. From this perspective, I think it was a good episode, but unfortunately there were always little things diminishing the quality of the episode for me a little bit, like those points I just discussed. There's definitely more to discuss, and we will do this in the live stream that comes up after this video here is uploaded, so check it out. I will be online for some time. Maybe I even have a guest this time, we will see. And I would say thank you people for watching. If you liked this video, then feel free to press the like button and maybe tell me in the comments how you liked this episode and also this first impressions video. Further, maybe press the subscribe button or check my other videos here on this channel. There's a lot of book lore stuff, but also a lot of coverage of the show. And as said, there will be a live stream later, so maybe check there as well. Tomorrow will be a watch party. On Sunday, I'm invited by the German Tolkien Society to discuss episode 7 there as well, though in German. And in the meantime, I play some Elden Ring. Huge shout outs to all the people supporting me in all the different ways, members and likes and comments and so on. It's much appreciated. Thank you all for that. And I would say, see people next time. Goodbye.